Was there a celebrity that inspired you growing up? When I was younger, I admired John Lennon and the Beatles. Have you all heard of him? If so, John was a talented singer, songwriter, and the co-leader of one of the biggest bands in the history of music, the Beatles, making him one of the most influential artists of all time. Without his legacy, other music acts such as Dave Grohl of Nirvana and Foo Fighters, for instance, would not exist if it were not for him and the Beatles. John Lennon was an inspiration to people worldwide because of what he was known for, such as his music. First, let's begin with the background on John Lennon. John Lennon was born on October 9, 1940 in Liverpool, England. He was the only child and was raised by his aunt Mimi because his parents were separated. In his early years, he was a troublemaker during school. Teachers believed that John was, unquote, certainly on the road to failure, hopeless, rather a clown in class, wasting other pupils' time. His aunt Mimi would also criticize John for his guitar playing because she believed that he would not get anywhere with music. In the late 1950s, he was in a skillful group called the Quarrymen. After that, he met with Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, which they all became the Beatles. With John's poetic outlook and determined aspirations of success, the Beatles hired their manager Brian Epstein and proceeded to conquer the world. John was a complex, insecure, temperamental, and brilliant songwriter whose songs related to all people. The Beatles promoted peace, love, and understanding. During the Beatles, the songs John wrote and was known for include Help and In My Life. After the Beatles disbanded in 1970, he kept writing songs during his solo career. One of his well-known songs would be Imagine. Now that you know John's background, I will cover how he represents as courage. John never gave up his dream. One of his inspirations when he was in his teens was Elvis Presley. Ever since he listened to Elvis, John knew he wanted to be just like him and be successful. When Aunt Mimi repeatedly told John he would never make a living out of it, that never stopped him. He kept pursuing his dream. He wanted to prove people wrong, and look at what happened to him. He was successful as a singer, songwriter, and guitarist for the Beatles. John not giving up his dream represents courage because he was serious about it. He did not want negativity to stop him. John had faith in himself that he could play, write, and sing music while being part of the Beatles. He should be praised for not giving up because we all have a certain skill to pursue as a career, like music, as an example. Next is what makes John Lennon a great songwriter. John wrote songs that were personal to him, but also other people. Have you ever listened to a song that meant something to you? For Lennon, songs like Help and In My Life as examples meant a lot to him because he expressed his emotions and feelings in his songs. In Help, Lennon is telling the audience that he is crying out for help. We can all relate to that. For In My Life, he looked back in the past on the people he was close with during his childhood. For instance, his mother, Julia, who wanted John to pursue music as a career. Not only did he write songs about himself, John would write about people rather than himself by telling a simple message like, all you need is love, because he is telling people that love is all we need. I appreciate what John did as a songwriter because from listening to his songs, I can definitely relate to them. For instance, when I listen to In My Life, I think about my early life to now. In addition to his songwriting, he knew what was right and wrong. My third argument is that John was prudent during the 1960s. John made sure if you were working to help him with his music, like producing and being a studio musician, for instance, he always made sure you were paid properly, no matter what the color of your skin was for both male or female. At the time in the 1960s during the civil rights unrest, people were not equally paid because of the color of their skin. John, along with other Beatles, were supporters of equal pay while they worked with him. If there was a color code, meaning whites there, blacks there, or no black allowed to attend their show, they would not perform. John and the Beatles were aware of civil rights because they lived through it. They supported everyone equally. John would always stand up to someone and focus on others rather than himself. Unfortunately, the major drawback of John Lennon was that he used drugs. And my counterargument is that drugs dealt with Lennon's inner demons. Drugs are an example of temperance for Lennon since he was in his teens. Drugs helped him and other Beatles experiment with their music. He used them for escaping pressures of fame. In conclusion, I will discuss how Lennon should be remembered. John Lennon was known as a musician, singer, and songwriter of the Beatles that inspired people around the world. John was a man who promoted peace and was shot dead in the steps of his home in 1980. People will remember John Lennon for his ability to share his emotions and relate to the world through his music. I want to conclude with one of the lines by Lennon called Imagine the World Will Be as One. Thank you, John Lennon, for everything you have shared with us around the world.